rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillah, alhamdulillah. As-salatu was-salamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Welcome everybody from around the world. My name is Bilal Abdul Kareem, and this is the BAK Show, wherein we discuss the issues which are important to who? To you. And I am, of course, your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem, and we're happy to have everybody here. This is your opportunity to send in your questions, comments, and or concerns. Now, we're going to have to discuss some things today about Gaza. We're going to discuss some issues about Syria and how this all ties in together. But first, I want to let everybody know about a project that we're working on. We're working on a project called Voices of Truth. That project is Voices of Truth. Now, this project is giving a voice to those people who were oppressed by the Bashar al-Assad regime, and we're doing interviews around the country with people who suffered big time under their rule. Now, I want to play a clip for you. This is an interview that we did. Of course, I am heading this project, an interview that I did with someone who was in one of Assad's prisons, and one of the prisoners died. Take a look and see what he had to say.
فهم مات. فشو كانت الإجراءات لاتخاذ الميتين من السجن؟
هلا بالنسبة حسون ابن حسون حظه هو ميت، حظه حلو انه باثناء كان سيارته وقت توفى وانتقل الى رحمة الله كان سيارة الموتى موجودة بقلب الفرع، يعني طالعوه بنفس الساعة، بس غيره يضل 3 ايام، يعني بموت يوم الاربعاء في فرع المنطقة بضل معنا بالجماعية او بالمنفردة، لانه انا كنت اوقات يحطونا بالجماعية واوقات يحطونا بالمنفردة، يضل معنا الاربعاء، الخميس، الجمعة، السبت الساعة 12 الظهر يجي ياخذوا، وكان شهر 6 و7 و8، وبتعرف الحر والشوب والهاي، اوقات التقى 3 ميتين 4 ميتين بالمهجع ممنوع تشيلون، وقت يجوا بدهم يشيلون هاتوا لنا الفطايس، يعني حتى انه الميت ما انه خالص من لسانهم الهاي اضطروا يشيلون، يعني ايمت من مات الشخص لازم يضل يوم كامل.
This is what we're doing with Voices of Truth. We're bringing these stories to you because if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. This is just a clip of a larger interview that we did with him, and we have so many other stories that we're bringing to you, but we need your help. Without you, we can't do it. Please take a look at our crowdfunding page. That's on medina.com/voices of truth. That's medina.com/voices of truth. It's our crowdfunding page. If you can help us with $5, $10, $100, $1,000, particularly in these 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, it will weigh heavily, inshallah ta'ala, with the right intention for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your scales of hasanat. That's what we want you to do. Please, brothers and sisters, help us out. Voices of Truth. That's medina.com/voices of truth. Okay, everybody, let's get into a few things. All right, now first we're going to talk about what's taking place in Gaza. Let's talk about the peace initiative, if you want to call it that. The realities we're going to be discussing here now. Firstly, this gentleman right here is Steve Witkoff. Now, he was appointed by Donald Trump to be the head of the envoy that's trying to mediate this situation in Gaza. Now, some of the elements of the proposal which he put forward are as follows. Stay with us, brothers and sisters, because I need your comments and your concerns. We're going to talk about it. Here, we have here key elements of the proposal. 1, a hostage and prisoner exchange. Hamas would release 10 living Israelis hostages and return the remains of 18 deceased individuals. In exchange, Israel would release over 1,200 Palestinian prisoners, including 125 serving life sentences, and return 180 Palestinian bodies. Got that? Cool. Ceasefire duration, a 60-day ceasefire proposed, during which the further negotiations would aim to establish a permanent peace agreement. Very important. Stay with me, brothers and sisters. Humanitarian aid. The proposal included provisions for the resumption of humanitarian aid to Gaza, ensuring the flow of essential supplies to the civilian population. Now, they basically touted this as the proposal that Hamas needed to accept, so on and so forth. But Hamas didn't accept it. They didn't reject it, but it needed some additional elements to it. Now, somebody might say, okay, well, what elements need to be added? Let's take a look at it. Okay, Hamas has consistently demanded 3 key conditions for any lasting ceasefire agreement with Israel. Stay with us, brothers and sisters. 1, complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. Hamas insists that Israel must fully withdraw its military forces from the Gaza Strip, ending its occupation and blockade. Look, let's talk business here for a second. The reality is that you can't have a territory if your enemy is occupying it, and you have to go, like they have to go through checkpoints and such like that and all, when they're already committing a genocide and a starvation to go along with it. Now, these people are not only dying from the rockets and bombs, they're dying from a lack of food and drink. Now, so this right here for Hamas is inviolable. 2, unrestricted return of displaced Palestinians to northern Gaza. Hamas demands that all Palestinians displaced by Israeli military operations be allowed to return to their homes in northern Gaza without restrictions. That means that they don't want just empty, unoccupied areas. Why? Because who's going to occupy it? The settlers. They're going to come in and occupy Gaza, and then it will be annexed and taken over by Israel. They understand that very well. This is the second condition. The third one, a serious prisoner exchange deal. Now, here's where the interesting thing happens. When you're listening to people around the world, I'm talking about pundits and people on talk shows and such like that and all, you keep hearing, let Hamas release the prisoners, release the prisoners, release the prisoners. But you never, ever hear them saying anything about the what? The Palestinian prisoners. What about them? Are they not prisoners? Many of them, thousands of them, almost 10,000 have been rounded up since the October 7th attacks back in 2023. So these people are held under, for the most part, administrative detention. Now, what's administrative detention? That means that they can hold the prisoners for up to 6 months without charge or without trial. In other words, they could just say, hey, you, get over here. Put him in prison, don't have to talk to him or say anything to him for 6 months. They can interrogate him. You know what the interrogation is going to be like, but they don't have to have any charge against you. And you know what? Don't think that you're getting out after 6 months, because they can renew it and renew it and renew it. And there are prisoners who've been in administrative detention in Israeli jails for 8 years. 8 years. So you have to understand that the Palestinians have a very, very, very valid right to want their compatriots to leave Israeli prisons because of the conditions. And 2, there's no path to justice. How are they supposed to free themselves? That's the reality of the situation here, brothers and sisters. But let's go back to Steve Witkoff. Now, he is the head of the envoy to settle in this dispute between the warring parties. Now, let's take a look and see what he says. This one is supposed to be neutral. It's the only way that you can solve the issue. He says, I received the Hamas response to the United States proposal. It is totally unacceptable and only takes us backwards. Hamas should accept the framework proposal we put forward. Who's we? As the basis for proximity talks, which can begin immediately coming this week. Now, in those In the proposal, there's no enforcement mechanism. The United States cannot be looked at as a real neutral broker when the person who was appointed to take over this role is talking about that we put forward. Who's we? You're not supposed to be putting forward anything. You are a mediator. That's the Israeli proposal that was put forward. You see how the language is here. And it goes on to say, as the basis for proximity talks, which we can begin immediately this coming week. Oh, wait, that sounds just wonderful. They're going to have some discussions this coming week. You mean like they had back in January and February, and the agreement that happened in March that they didn't stick to at all? And what the Israelis want is the release of hostages with no guarantees that they're going to with no enforcement mechanism to enforce them to do anything to stick to the rest of the agreement. And they haven't stuck to one agreement with the Palestinians, nor did they stick to the agreement with the Lebanese group known as Hezbollah, and that they were supposed to pull out of southern Gaza after 60 days. They don't stick to any agreement whatsoever. They only want the hostages back, keep the Palestinians, and just continue to go on as genocidal business as usual. It continues. He says, that is the only way we can close a 60-day ceasefire deal in the coming days, in which half of the living hostages and half of those who are deceased will come home to their families, and in which we can have the proximity talks, substantive negotiations in good faith to try to reach a permanent ceasefire. Issue number one. Okay, he speaks here about the hostages that are in the hands of Hamas going home, makes no mention of Palestinian hostages. There's no mention of it. It's like it doesn't exist. It's just not important. The next thing, he says, so that we can have at the proximity talk, substantive negotiations in good faith. The Israelis have not negotiated in good faith since the start of the conflict. That's where the problem lies. And even when there is an agreement, the United States does not enforce it. They basically, the hostages get released. The Israelis continue to bomb, continue to kill Palestinians, even when the agreement was supposed to be in place. Hamas continued, even by statements made by international humanitarian organizations, that Hamas did follow its end of the bargain, but the Israelis did not. And this is what you have, brothers and sisters. Don't be fooled into thinking that, oh, well, Hamas doesn't want peace, and Hamas doesn't care about the Palestinian people. They care about the Palestinian people, which is why they're adamant in saying that if we're going to release hostages, you've got to release hostages on your side as well, even though that's not popular for people who are doing talk shows and such like that to talk about. Okay, brothers and sisters, let's take a look and see what's important to you, and we will continue. We've got here Fareed Khan, who says, "Salam, bro. How are you?" I'm good. Good to have you. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, let's take a look and see what Ahmed says. Salam, Akhi Bilal. Reading the ceasefire details, it seems that Hamas is actually considering a 60-day ceasefire that would only stop the airstrikes for 10 hours a day, which is a bad idea. Why consider it? I'm not sure that they're actually looking to consider that. I know that that's something that they were discussing, because you got to understand, Hamas is the name that internationally everybody is talking about. But there are other organizations that are a part of the resistance as well. It's not only Hamas, it's Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and there are other groups as well. So they all have to come together and to discuss the issue. I cannot see that Hamas is going to agree to a 60-day ceasefire, give away all of the hostages, unless there is a real mechanism to guarantee that the ceasefire will be automatically extended. Now, that's what they said, for that It would not be contingent like happened the last time that, okay, phase one was finished, let's start phase two. Okay, well, we didn't begin phase two, let's just go back to bombing. Because you have to understand something. Israel isn't interested in these negotiations. They're interested in exterminating the Palestinian people and taking over their land. That's what this whole thing is all about. So it's not going to end with negotiations and such like that. To be real with you, that's unfortunate, because once the Israelis get the hostages back, they'll just continue their extermination policy. That's what they've been doing so far. Okay, we've got Fatima Amir who says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Sister, Jazakillah khair for your message. I appreciate it. Okay, next up. Do you see any time soon the war will end in Gaza? Also, do you see the USA will allow Israel to push out all the Palestinians out of the enclave? Okay, let's take a look at your first question here, which is, do you see any time the war will end in Gaza? No, I don't see it. I think that the push by the United States for Israel, and this includes the European Union, to actually stop the genocide is fake, it's false, it's phony. The people are being bamboozled, as we used to say. They're being led astray. Why? Because the first thing that's got to happen is that if you are serious about stopping a genocide, is stop the flow of weapons. That's the first thing. But also, brothers and sisters, I want you to understand and put this in proper context. Even if the US cut off the flow of weapons and the European Union cut off the flow of weapons, that doesn't mean that the war stops today, because they have stockpiles which are there to last them for months, where they can continue killing. So even if there was an injunction that stopped selling them weapons and ammunition and spare parts, they could still function as well. So watch and see how they put all of these stop gaps in front, because people think, okay, they're going to stop giving them weapons. Hooray, that means it's all going to stop. No, it doesn't mean that. And additionally to that, they're not even talking about stopping the flow of weapons. That's not even being discussed. The European Union is talking about that we're going to have to talk about holding talks to talk about putting sanctions on the Israelis. Or what kind of sanctions are we talking about? We're going to stop the flow of socks going into Israeli territory. We're going to stop the flow of caviar and fine wine. Come on, guys. This is not serious, man. And the Europeans are not serious. Don't be fooled into thinking that they are. Okay, the Access M says, because it's hypocritical for me to say this to a Syrian whose country's been at war for a decade while I've been living in the West in comfort. I didn't quite catch what he may have said. Was there some other part to it? Let's go back up and let's take a look. I don't see another part to that. Akhi, the Access M, if you could send us what you wanted to ask in total, then we can take a look at it. Okay. Okay, next up. Melino says, do you think you will get a Syrian citizenship? And if yes, would you accept it? Okay, well, the first thing is, for me, we are working to try to help the brothers and sisters to get Syrian citizenship and a Syrian passport. People have not seen their families for 13 years, and they would like to travel. They would like to own property here. They would like to have equal status, and we believe that they deserve it. Okay. As for me, myself personally, I'm not necessarily lobbying for Syrian citizenship for myself. I'm trying to get Syrian citizenship for the people who deserve it. And I'm not saying I don't deserve it, but I'm saying is that that's not a focus of mine. I would like to, like when we were in the siege of Aleppo, I was one of the last to leave, hiding underneath blankets and other goods so that I wasn't spotted by Russian checkpoints. Now, why was I doing that? Why? Because I'm brave? No. why I was doing it, because if there was something that needed to be documented, I had to be the last one. So likewise here, we need to work to get these brothers and sisters Syrian citizenship. I think it's the right thing. It's the Islamic thing. It's the thing that is obligatory upon the government, and we're going to work towards that. And if I was offered Syrian citizenship, would I accept it? Probably. The Prophet ﷺ said that, don't refuse a gift. So if I was offered a gift or something like that, yeah, I would probably accept it. If for no other reason that I want my children to see my father came to this country, my children, my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and he was a part of the good that came here to the land of Shem. Now, next we've got here, Assalamu alaikum, Akhi Bilal. Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Are there brothers ready to cross the south border to Israel, let's say in Rimas style? I couldn't answer that question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. But I do know one thing, that every fighter here has their eye on the southern border. Every fighter. The historical enemy of the Muslims are the hostile Jews. That's the reality of the situation. Everybody can pretend that that's not it. But the hostile Jews, that doesn't mean every Jew, but those who are hostile to them, they are the traditional enemy of the Muslims. And there's a long history between the two. And I don't think there's a fighter here, to be honest with you, that somewhere they're not mentally sharpening their skills, because they know that the Israelis are not going to stop. They know that. No matter what any negotiations or Donald Trump or whatever the case is, the Israelis are not going to stop. Look, guys, let's just throw something at you out there. Now, I know that the president of the country, Ahmed Shara, formerly known as Abu Mohammed Jolani, has meetings with Donald Trump, Mohammed bin Salman, and so on and so forth. Let's talk business for a second here. What's real is that he has no control over Donald Trump. Donald Trump will not control the Israelis, because they're one and the same. They play this good cop, bad cop thing, but it's all fake, it's all false. It's all just a ruse. You think that Donald Trump doesn't have the ability to stop Netanyahu's genocide going there? He's the one who's funding it. Of course he does. So the reality that is that whatever deals Ahmed Shara feels that he would make, the Israelis will not stick to it. They have no history of sticking to an agreement with an enemy that is weaker than them. That's real. I hope that Abu Mohammed Jolani, Ahmed Shara, understands that. I know my people, the Americans, very well, and American politics very well. Believe me, they are not working for the good of the Syrian people. This fake lifting of the sanctions is only a 180-day respite. And if the Syrians don't do what they want them to do, then the sanctions go right back on. The sanctions were not lifted, everybody. You got to understand that. It's a 180-day license to do this and to do that and so on and so forth. It has to be lifted by Congress, congressional approval, and another process. But the reason why they're doing it like this is because this is a means of control. That's the reality, and Allah knows best. Okay, do you think that Netanyahu will attack Iran? No. No, I don't. I don't think that he thinks that that's within his sphere of interest right now. But if he can get America to do it for him, it'd be a nice idea. I think that's the way he thinks. Next, Assalamu alaikum, brother Bilal. Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. How do you see the situation ending in Gaza? It seems like outside help is a must to move forward, and Allah knows best. From what I can see from this vantage point, there's no outside help coming. I wish I could say that, well, it looks like, Abdul Fattah al-Sisi is getting ready. He doesn't look like he's getting ready for anything except ready for bed. That's all that we've seen from him. Now, he might be doing something we don't know about, but it's certainly not apparent here. You got a genocide going on right on your borders, Abdul Fattah. What's up, man? And you just watching the Muslims get killed like that? What are you going to tell your grandchildren when your children ask you, Baba, what the heck were you doing when this was going on? They probably wouldn't say heck, but you can understand the point of it. I'm sure he'll come up with some cockamamie story about, I was trapped in the bathroom, I couldn't get out and all, and the whole thing was going on for 2 years, and we had the whole army trying to get me out of the bathroom. By the time I came out, it was over. I digress. The point here is that how do I see the situation in Gaza ending? I think eventually there'll be a ceasefire when Benjamin Netanyahu has just no other cards to play. There'll be a ceasefire. Hamas is going to stay. I believe, and Allah knows best. Hamas is going to stay. And even if they don't stay in terms of the direct official leadership, there's just no way to separate Hamas from Gaza, because they are the deep state in Gaza. So to think that you're going to all of a sudden bring some technocrats to the table, which would be nice on paper, but the Gazan people aren't going to go for somebody who's going to be radically different from the one force that was trying their best to defend them, which is exactly what Hamas was doing. History did not start on October 7th. Next up, we've got Molino here. He said, brother, you are more Syrian than me, LOL. Well, you know what? I'll ask my wife, that question. Hold on 1 second. Assalamu alaikum. My wife is here. في واحد هو قال يعني أنا سوري أكثر منه، يعني كلام مضبوط ولا غير مضبوط؟ غير مضبوط. من أسألك. I asked my wife, she's here also at the office, and I said that somebody said that I'm more Syrian than him, and he laughed. I asked her, I said, am I more Syrian than him? She said, he. No. So, what am I going to do here? All right, let's take a look and see what we have here next. All right, let's take a look here. We've got Ikram Musa, who says, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Do you believe the 7th of October will have global impacts in mind, or long-term global systems exposed in the eyes of Western nations too? Is this going to change reality globally? Oh, brother man, let me be the first one to let you know. Nothing's going back to the way that it was. The Western humanitarian situation is a total myth. People do not understand the Pandora's box that was opened here. Armed groups before were criticized because they didn't want to go through a process to make political change. Why? Because there were humanitarian organizations, there was international law, there were international norms. All of that turned out to be a big farce. None of that is true. How are you going to now come to some group that's gaining prominence and tell them, stop, guys, we need to take somebody to the international court? Ain't nobody buying that. Nobody would buy that. People are not understanding that what the ugliness that's behind a wall of injustice when you do not give the people who are being unjust to an out to be able to lift the oppression, it's going to turn violent. It can't go any other way. So that's what's happening here. They're not being given any type of, the ICC, the ICJ, none of these organizations have an executive arm, except when it comes to Muslims or something along those lines. Then they find some arms, some legs, some toes, and some things to go along with it. But after having said that, there's no real mechanism to force the Israelis to do anything. The only thing they can do is just say, bad Israeli, go lay down. and that's it. So, I think that in the future, it's going to give rise to even more fiercer, fiercer resistance fighters who are significantly less likely to negotiate on any terms. And I wish I didn't have to tell it to you like that, but that's real. And Allah knows best. Okay. All right, let's see what we've got here. We've got Hisham Hassan who says, Assalamu alaikum, brother Bilal. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I don't have a question, but I want to say I love you for the sake of Allah. And I love you for the sake of the one whom you love me for. You have been a great example for your consistency in being steadfast in speaking the truth. Jazakallah khair. I appreciate that. But I want to tell my wife what you just said. في واحد هو قال يعني أنا شخص طيب وأنا شخص كويس يعني كلام مضبوط ولا كمان؟ She said sometimes. Yeah, I'm not going to ask her. You know what? Next time I'm going to bring her on. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Jazakallah khair, man. I really appreciate it. Oh, wait. We're going to take the next question, but I need you guys to do something for me. Please. I want you to please visit our crowdfunding page for the Voices of Truth. And this is medina.com/voices of truth. This is our crowdfunding page. We are doing a project which is called Voices of Truth, where we're giving a voice to people who were oppressed under the Assad regime. We're going all around the country interviewing men and women, people who were the oppressors, those who were oppressed, family members who had loved ones who never returned to their homes. I want you to take a look at this very brief clip. It's about a minute and 20 seconds long, of a former prisoner and how the situation took place when one of the prisoners died in custody. I want you to take a look at this, and we'll get back to your questions in just a brief moment.
فهم مات فشو كانت الإجراءات لاتخاذ الميتين من السجن؟
هلا بالنسبة حسون ابن حسون حظه هو ميت، حظه حلو انه باثناء كان سيارته وقت توفى انتقل الى رحمة الله، كان سيارة الموتى موجودة بقلب الفرع، يعني طالعوه بنفس الساعة، بس غيره يضل 3 ايام، يعني بموت يوم الاربعاء فرع المنطقة بضل معنا بالجماعية او بالمنفردة، لانه انا كنت اوقات يحطونا بالجماعية واوقات يحطونا بالمنفردة، يضل معنا الاربعاء، الخميس، الجمعة، السبت الساعة 12 الظهر يجي ياخذوا، وكان شهر 6 و7 و8، وبتعرف الحر والشوب والهاي، اوقات التقى 3 ميتين 4 ميتين بالمهجع ممنوع تشيلون، وقت يجوا بدهم يشيلون هاتوا لنا الفطايس، يعني حتى انه الميت ما انه خالص من سانون الهاي يضطروا يشيلون، يعني ايمت من مات الشخص لازم يضل يوم كامل.
This is just this is just a piece of one of the stories that we are working to bring to you, translate into English, so that everybody can understand for the future. No one could come and say Bashar al-Assad was a good guy. We don't know what he's talking about. He used to help the Palestinians, which he didn't. So we need your help in order to be able to do that. Please take a look at our crowdfunding page. That's medina.com/voices of truth. I'm heading this project, but I can't do it without you. We need fuel to get back and forth to all around the country. We need salaries for people who are doing the editing, the translating, and everything else. Please take a look at it, medina.com/voices of truth. Okay, let's get back to where we were. We've got here Najir Hussein, who says, Salam, brother Bilal. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Where do you see the revival of the Ummah starting, and do you think it's coming? Oh, brother, it's already begun. You've got to take a look at something. First of all, where do I think it's going to come from? I think it's going to come from the land of Sham. That includes Syria, that includes Palestine. Let me ask you a question. How fierce do you think that the next wave, the next generation of mujahideen will be coming from the Gaza Strip and the West Bank? Do you think they'll be interested in, like the previous generation, who were more apt to negotiate and take steps to write letters to the United Nations and such like that? I'm not blaming them for that, but it was just a different time. Could anybody really make a serious case for that? These people will become people, I believe, who will fight until the end. And if they are almost to the end, they'll take their enemy with them. That's the ferocity that I believe is being crafted by Benjamin Netanyahu, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and all the rest of those no good nicks. That's what I think is going to happen. Likewise, here in Syria, they will not be far away from it. Why? The Jewish state of Israel will not stop. They are already occupying the Mount Hermon, which is the Jebel Sheikh, which is 25 kilometers away from Damascus. They make daily incursions into Syrian territory, set up checkpoints, steal cattle, raid homes, and Benjamin Netanyahu wants it to be a demilitarized zone so that they don't attack his troops who are illegally entering into a sovereign nation. So with that in mind, there will be, in my opinion, no politician that will come along that's going to be able to contain the aggressiveness of the wave that's coming, and Allah knows best. That's how I see it, based upon the people that I speak to and talk to every day. We've got here, Hisham Hassan says, may Allah reward you abundantly for all your efforts and grant you the highest ranks in Jannah. Ameen. I really, really appreciate it. Oh, we got Ali here. Salam from Texas. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please say salam to all the brothers and sisters. All right, let's take one more. And let's see. All right. All right, we'll deal with that another time. Okay, we'll just do one final shout out. This is Muayyan. Assalamu alaikum, watching from Falls Church, Virginia. Muayyan, it's always good to have you here, man. You've been watching for a long time. Please make dua for us, particularly in these 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. Okay, brothers and sisters, that's it. I am your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem. Please do visit our crowdfunding page. That's medina.com/voices of truth. I am your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.